Hey, my name is Elissa Hope, and I'm a spiritual, motivational speaker, healer, and author of Hope from Heaven. It was the #1 new release in near-death experience books on Amazon. And I'm not going to tell you, the whole entire story because I don't want to ruin it for the people who will be reading it, because it's like, you wouldn't want to go to a movie if you knew what the whole entire movie was about. But I will tell you a lot, though, about my extraordinary near-death experience and also my breathtakingly beautiful spiritual love story with my beloved boyfriend, who was a famous supermodel, Todd Irvin. But let's go. I'm going to go all the way back to when I died, when I was only a teenager at 14 years old. My mother, she was going to be going through a divorce, and my dad just was not giving her the money that he normally did to take me to my regular dentist. So instead, a clinic opened up about 5 minutes away from our house. So my mom took me to the dental clinic. And I mean, obviously, I don't know if he was even a real licensed dentist. I did not recall seeing any diplomas up on the wall. So he gave me much too much nitrous oxide gas that cut off my oxygen supply. I died. I had no pulse. And during the time when CPR was being performed on me, my soul left my body and it traveled through a long, dark, speeding tunnel that seemed to go on for miles and miles. And then at the end of the speeding tunnel, it opened up into the brightest light where my three guardian angels were waiting for me in the light. And they told me that I was safe with them in heaven. And they explained that I had an accident back at the dentist, and they said that I died and that they were sent to wait for me in the light. And they gave me the choice of staying in heaven or returning to my life with an important purpose. And, they really wanted me to stay with them in heaven because they kept saying, if you stay with us, you will have so much more peace and happiness in heaven than if you return to your life. They said that if I did choose to go back to my life, that they would be sending me back with an important purpose, but that it would also be very challenging in exchange for being allowed to go back. So I kept saying, I have to go back. I have to go back. My mom really needs me because I was my mother's only daughter. I have two older brothers, but my mother, she only wanted a girl. So she kept going until she had me. And I just felt like, how could I leave my mother behind? I mean, without even so much as thank you, goodbye, love you, I did not feel like she would be able to survive losing her only daughter. So I kept saying, I have to go back. I have to go back. My mom really needs me. And my guardian angel said, before you make your final decision, they said, we have something that we want to show you. And all of a sudden, I was watching my own funeral, what it would be like if I chose to stay in heaven and not return to my life. And everybody was at my funeral, my family, my friends, teachers from school, and all of my neighbors. Of course, everybody was so sad and upset, but the only one who was inconsolable, who was crying and screaming and throwing herself on top of my closed casket, was my mother. And she kept crying, pleading, Elissa, Elissa, my baby, Elissa, I love you, don't leave me. And she kept crying, come back to me. So I said to my guardian angel, see, I have to go back. My mom really needs me. And again, my guardian angel said, your relationship with your mother, they said it's not going to be as great as you think. They said it's going to be very turbulent, but you will have a special bond where you will be able to read each other's minds and know what the other one is thinking and be able to finish each other's sentences. But they said to think very carefully because I will only get this one chance to stay in heaven, or otherwise I would be living a very, very long life back on earth. So then there was this big white door, and my guardian angel said, if you pass through this door, then there is no turning back. Then you have to stay with us. And they said, you will be so amazed at who is on the other side of this door, so much more of glorious heaven, and who is behind the door. So every time they would promise me, eternal bliss and peace and happiness in heaven, I would inch a little bit closer to the door. But then I would see my mother again throwing herself on top of my casket, pleading, Elissa, my baby, I love you. Don't leave me. Come back to me. And then I would inch away from the door. And I said to my guardian angels, I was crying. I said, I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. And then all of a sudden, I hear footsteps, and God is standing right in front of me. I'm face to face with God, our Heavenly Father, creator of the universe. And God said to me, what's the matter, my child? Why are you crying? Why are you so upset? And I said, I have to go back. My mom really needs me. God said to me, I understand. And he turned to my 3 guardian angels and he said, send her back immediately. And then he said to me, but I'm sending you back with an important purpose. And he said to me, once your soul is back in your body, you will not remember everything that you were just told. He said, you will not remember your full purpose until the time is right. He said, because I was just much too young at only 14 years old to handle such a big responsibility, of being God's messenger when I was only a teenager, which I had to agree. So, I told him that I understand. And there was more that went on that God actually did show me before I left heaven. But, I'll save that for whoever's going to read my book, Hope from Heaven. But I said to my 3 guardian angels, I said, I hope you're not upset with me for choosing to go back to my life. And they laughed. They said, no, of course not. They said, we will be watching over you your whole life. And when your time is up again, they said, we will be waiting for you in the light again. And they said, when I'm very lonely, that I will feel something stroking my hair. And they said, that is going to be us comforting you. So I thank them and I thank God, and I hugged God and my guardian angels. And my soul went back through that long, dark, speeding tunnel again. And before it was back in my body, I heard and I saw everything that was going on at the dental clinic. And the dental hygienist, she was still performing CPR on me. And she said, I heard her say to the dentist, there's still no pulse. And the dentist, he was frantic. He was crying, frantic. He kept saying, don't give up, don't give up. Keep going, keep trying. He said, oh my God. He said, this never happened before. We can't lose her. We have to get her back. He said, don't give up. So I felt the 3 thrusts on my chest and the 3 breaths in my mouth. And a couple seconds later, I heard the hygienist say, there's a pulse now. We have her back. So the dentist screamed, thank God. And I laughed to myself and I thought, I did just thank God, personally. So I was still like in a daze. And I said, what happened? I said, I was just in heaven. I said, I was with God. I was in heaven. And the dentist said, I believe it. He said, I believe you are. He said, you were gone. He said, you had no pulse. We almost couldn't get you back with the CPR. You were gone. And he was still so upset and he was crying. He said, can you forgive me? Do you forgive me? And I said that, yes, I do, because I knew it was an accident. And also, I mean, it was just the most incredible thing that ever happened to me in my entire life, standing before God in heaven. So I told him that I forgave him. And he did not even finish filling the cavity. He said to my mother, he said something went wrong with the gas, with the nitrous oxide. I could not finish filling her cavity. He said, take her home, have her lay down. And if she doesn't feel well, take her to the emergency room. And I'm sure that he just didn't want to tell my mother that he had actually killed me because, he was afraid of losing his dental license. So a couple years after that happened to me, my mother and we were watching the news and we saw that a 17-year-old girl from the Bronx, she died the same exact way as I did, having a cavity filled at the dentist. And she had too much nitrous oxide and she died. And they were able to revive her too. But then when she went home, she was found dead in the morning. So that's why the dentist told my mother, if she doesn't feel well when she goes home, take her right to the emergency room. And then also my neighbor, her dentist died the same exact way. He was found in his dental office in the morning with the nitrous oxide mask covering his face. He, by accident, he overdosed on the nitrous oxide and he died. So, and my uncle, he was the biggest dentist in Westchester. And when I told him what happened to me, he said, I never, ever used that in my dental practice. I never used nitrous oxide. He said, that stuff kills people. So I said, I know, it killed me. So as my guardian angels, and God told me that my full purpose would not be revealed to me until the time was right. Over the years, it would come to me in bits and pieces, but like so fast. I could be sitting in class or walking through the park with friends, and it was like a jolt of electricity would go through me so quickly. It was a flashback of bits and pieces of everything that went on in heaven. And I would literally take my hands and I would hold my head like that just until it would stop, because it was just like, like electricity running through me so quickly with all this like bits and pieces from heaven, everything that I was shown there and told and what went on. And my teacher, my friends, they would say to me, are you okay? And I would say, yes. But then the full entire, what my purpose was came to me on the morning of my beloved boyfriend's memorial service. And as I said before, my boyfriend, Todd Irvin, he was a famous supermodel. And then he went on to become an LMFT, a licensed marital and family therapist in Santa Monica, California. I was a teenage model, so I saw a modeling picture of Todd when he was about 24 years old, 25, and I declared him my Prince Charming. In that one picture that I saw of him, he really looked like, he reminded me of the prince from the movie Cinderella. So that's why I said, that's my Prince Charming. I said, we're going to be together one day. But, I said it more of like, a fantasy. I don't think that I really and truly believed that it would happen. But then my fairy tale did come true years later. And what is so fascinating about it is that before I actually did meet Todd, I did not meet him until 34 years after I saw that modeling picture of him. And I kept having, right after I saw that picture of Todd, I kept having the same reoccurring dream. But in my dream, I had no idea that it was actually Todd, because in my dream, he was the age that he was when I met him 34 years later. So I met him when he was 62 years old. So in my dream, I had no idea who this mature man was because I only saw that one picture of Todd when he was about 25. So he looked totally different than that man in my dream. And in my dream, my mother is walking me down the aisle, and Todd, it turned out, it was Todd in my dream. He was waiting for me at the altar to marry me. And when my mom and I got to the end of the aisle, Todd would put his hand out. And when I would take my hand to reach out to take Todd's hand, I would wake up from my dream. And I would say, oh, who is this man in my dream, waiting to marry me? And I kept having the same exact reoccurring dream until I met Todd. And then when I did meet him 34 years later, I said, oh, gosh, it's you. I could not believe it. And then Todd and we fell deeply in love. We were both separated and going to get divorced, to get married. When sadly, suddenly he died, I had no idea that he had died yet when he came to me in a visitation dream and he held me and he told me that he loves me and that he will always be with me spiritually. And then as soon as I woke up from that dream, I found out that he died and I went into shock. I was devastated. I collapsed and I said, but he just came to me. He just came to me and was holding me, and telling me that he loves me and will always be with me. So I knew that even though he was in heaven, I knew that he was still with me, always spiritually. And then it was nonstop, beautiful, fascinating afterlife communication from Todd. He actually, on the morning of his memorial service, Todd is the one who revealed my full purpose to me. When I woke up that morning and I looked out my window, straight ahead of me, I live on the water. And in the 17 years that I have been living here, there has never been not one swan. I always get either seagulls or maybe geese, but never ever a swan. So when I woke up that morning and I looked straight out the window, there's a beautiful pair of swans. And it's not even like they were just sitting there waiting for me to wake up, and look out the window and see them. They had been moving slowly together. So what is the odds, just when I wake up and I look straight out the window, that this ethereal pair of swans, they're gently floating together straight before my very eyes. So I just knew this is a sign from Todd on the morning of his memorial service. So I ran outside and I'm in my pajamas, and my grass, it's all wet. So my house slippers are all ruined, but I didn't care. And I'm yelling, wait, Todd, wait. So I run all the way down to the water. And as soon as the beautiful pair of swans see me, they turn towards me and their necks entwine and their bills touch, kissing each other. It was the most beautiful sight. I mean, it literally took my breath away. And I knew this has to be a message, a very spiritual message from Todd to me. So I run back in my house and I Google, what does a pair of swans mean spiritually? And sure enough, it came up that swans, they're the twin flame spirit animal. And it represents the eternal love of oneness between two beings. And twin flames are one soul that was split into two bodies and share the same consciousness. And they're very, very rare because they're only sent here in their last lifetime when their soul is very advanced, and they're sent here as a light worker to raise the vibration of love and energy throughout the world. So I was just so fascinated to know that Todd and I, we always thought that we were soulmates or kindred spirits, but we didn't even know what twin flames were, So I was just so amazed to know that Todd and I, our soul has been together from the moment of creation, which was also very, very comforting to me. So I knew that he's always with me, protecting me and guiding me and loving me from heaven. And I knew that once full purpose was revealed to me, that I'm not only God's messenger, but also a light worker to raise the vibration of love and energy throughout the world. That was when I said, I need to do what I was sent back here to do. So that was when I wrote my book, Hope from Heaven. And, I got it published very quickly by a traditional publisher. And I said, this way I can really reach out to everybody all over the world because it has worldwide distribution so that I can really, enlighten everyone that God truly does exist in heaven, having stood before him myself. And for you to know that true love never dies. It is endless. Our loved ones, they don't want us to grieve so much when they leave us physically because they're always by your side spiritually. And, my mom, who I came back from heaven for, she actually passed away last year. And, that was another hard loss for me because she's the reason why I chose to come back to my life. But as soon as my mother passed away, she gave me the same, so much incredible afterlife communication, just like Todd. So I knew that my mother is also with me from heaven, loving me, guiding me, protecting me as well, too. And my mom, she came to me in a visitation dream and she said, don't be so sad, Elissa, because I'm the happiest that I have ever been. And my mother, I never saw her. She was never as happy as she was in heaven as she was here on earth. She was literally glowing, she was just beaming. So, I said, how can I be so sad when I know how happy my loved ones are in heaven? My Todd, he was cremated, and I was watching a movie one day, and the actor, in the movie, he died, and they showed that he was cremated. And I just broke down crying because I thought of how my Todd was cremated. And all of a sudden, I see Todd, and Todd said to me, he said, do you really think I just left you? He said, I'm always with you. I'm holding you now. And I can't tell you how much that comforted me too, So we just leave our body behind physically, but your soul is eternal. And our loved ones in heaven, they don't want us to be sad. And they actually, they come to us in so many different ways and they communicate with us spiritually. And they love to give us signs from heaven and messages from heaven. And I'm able to communicate with my loved ones from heaven spiritually because of when I died and my soul left my body and was in heaven. So I still have that higher consciousness to heaven. But I do tell everybody that if you clear all of your negative energy and you have a close relationship with God, have faith in God and pray to God, you will start to receive signs from your loved ones in heaven. And they come to us in so many different ways. For me, I receive a ton of bird signs. If you see my YouTube channel at Elissa Hope 5424, you will see I have a fascinating video on there, and it's called A Visit from My Deceased Twin Flame. And it's of Todd coming to me. He visited me as my angel, and you will see the angel going from the grass into the water. And there are so many beautiful birds just circling all around the angel picking up on all of that, the angel energy. And I actually, two of those birds then stayed with me and they moved into my garage. They made a bird's nest. And then on the 4th of July, they had four, baby birds. And it was just so beautiful. And I always, like to document as much of my afterlife communication as I can, all of the signs that I receive, just as proof that it's the God's honest truth, everything. And a year after Todd died, he called me from heaven. And I was saying out loud to Todd, I need you to help me get my book, Hope from Heaven, into the right producer or director's hands for a movie to be made out of it. And as soon as I said that, my phone rang. I was in the kitchen cooking, so I didn't answer the phone. But as soon as I was done cooking, I went, and when I checked my caller ID, I couldn't believe it. I said, Todd called me from heaven. On my caller ID was Todd's cell phone number with the name of a famous Swedish Hollywood director, Mikael Hafström. So I knew that Todd was telling me that perhaps Mikael Hafström is the right hands to get my book into for a movie to be made out of it. So Mikael, if you're listening, I always say you could contact me. Mikael has been out of the country in Sweden for the past several years filming movies there. But, if anybody knows Mikael's email address or anything, you feel free to contact me on my author website at elissahope.com. I love to hear from my readers as well. It's just been like such a fascinating journey, all that I have gone through. But as my guardian angels told me, my life would be very challenging. And I still go through the same, all of the ups and downs and all arounds that everybody goes through. And a lot of people who have contacted me, they will say, why do you have to go through so much struggles and challenges in your life? And the answer is that it's all for your spiritual growth. That is the only way that your soul has the most amount of spiritual growth, when you go through the hardest times in your life. So I always say, in your darkest hour, there is light, because that is when you really will experience the most amount of growing spiritually. And I always say, never turn your back on God, because I also have, I always reach out to families that have gone through such tragedies, like lost a child, or one woman who I reached out to, she lost both of her parents and all three of her children in a horrible, tragic house fire. And this was on Christmas Eve. So I reached out to her, and she's just such an amazing, strong woman, because you can't even imagine going through that kind of loss and grief. But she thanked God for the time that she did have with her children here on earth. She was just so thankful for however much time she was blessed with them here physically. And she knows that they're always with her spiritually. And then I had another woman who I spoke to, and she lost her daughter. Her daughter was only 24 years old. And this woman, she can't get over it. She's grieving so much. And this happened, several years ago. But she told me that she does not believe in God anymore since she lost her daughter. And I said, no, you must never turn your back on God, because God never turns his back on you. And God never gives us anything more than we can handle, even though it may seem that way, at times when you're going through the hardest times in your life. You just have to pray to God, because I had a lovely gentleman who reached out to me. And he said he was so upset that his son was diagnosed with this illness. And he said he was never, a religious man, but he said he went to church and he started praying to God and he developed a close relationship with God. And he said then a couple of months later that his son was completely healed of the illness. And he truly believes that it's from developing such a close relationship with God. So I always say, pray to God and thank Him for all of your blessings. And if you're going through a challenging time, pray to Him, to guide you in the right direction and to help you through what you're going through. And I promise you that when one door closes, another one opens. So our life is a precious gift, but it's an earth school that we signed up for. And we're actually the chosen ones too, So life is a precious gift, and you need to thank God for all of your blessings. And it's really been just a fascinating journey for me. And to know that one life has breathed easier because of you, that is purpose and my purpose. And I also want to say that all of my royalties from my book, Hope from Heaven, goes into animal rescue. I'm the biggest animal lover, and my goal is to expand a good no-kill animal shelter one day. And a lot of people say to me, are we reunited with our pets? And I tell them 100% that you are. And I can tell you how I know this for a fact is that on my beautiful daughter Raphaela's 16th birthday, my beloved boyfriend Todd came to me in a visitation dream with my childhood dog. Shag was with Todd. And Todd said to me, look who is here with me. Look who I have to visit you. And it was my beautiful dog, Shag. And he was so young and healthy again, was running around in circles, so happy to see me. And I just woke up feeling so, peaceful and so happy because, as I said, I'm the biggest animal lover. And just knowing that my Shag is with my Todd in heaven, and that I will reunite with both of them one day, it gave me so much peace and comfort. And this is why I wrote my book, Hope from Heaven, and why I go on podcasts, because, if I can ease anybody's pain and suffering, it made it so worth my while for me to come back here to do some good in this world spiritually, to help heal others. And it actually heals me in return too. So anybody, who wants to reach out to me on my author website at elissahope.com, I'll be so happy to answer any questions that you may have. And I always tell everybody to try and do acts of kindness. I try and do a good deed every single day. It can be as small as holding the door open, or smiling to somebody online, because even when I'm just at the supermarket, at the grocery checkout, I always wind up just starting a conversation with somebody online, I'm just friendly to everybody. And I always say, if you know that there's an elderly person, either a family member or a friend, or it can even be a neighbor, reach out to them, call them, because you'd be surprised, just like the smallest acts of kindness, it really makes somebody's day. It really makes a difference. And I always say, adopt a precious, a dog or a cat, from an animal shelter, because there's just so many pets in need of loving home. There's so many kittens and puppies. And I always say adopt an elderly pet too, because they're just wonderful and they need loving homes. So, and I would also like to say that, always choose kindness and be humble and be kind, and good karma will come back to you. Do unto others as you do unto yourself. And if we all did that, because we're all God's children, we're all one with the divine and the universe, and therefore we're really all one with each other. So if we're all kind to each other, just think of like how that ripple effect will spread out all throughout the world, and we really all can make a difference in this world and bring about world peace and make heaven a place on earth. So I would just like to leave off to say that God truly does exist in heaven, having stood before him myself, and that true love never dies. It is endless. We all just leave our body behind physically, but spiritually, we're more alive than ever in heaven. Dying does not hurt. It's just as natural as being born, but a different process. And you should just make the most of every single day that you have here on earth, because life is just a moment of eternity. And as we all know, how quickly time does go. So we're all here to serve a purpose for God. And once that purpose is served, that's when God calls us back home to him to have peace and love and happiness in heaven for all of eternity. But everybody is here to serve a purpose, no matter how big or small it is. So you will know when you are, living your life with purpose and divine awareness, authentic power, peace, clarity, love, and purpose. And I say, how will you know that? Is that you will feel so fulfilled inside, what you are doing, that it won't even feel like work to you. You have to do what you're truly passionate about, because some people have said to me that they're so miserable in their jobs that, they really just like dread, getting up in the morning and going to work. So that's when I say, well, then you're really not that's not your purpose. That's not what you're supposed to be doing here, because it's supposed to fulfill you and make you feel so happy. And you'll know when you're on the right path. So, sometimes it may take some time to be revealed to you, and that's okay. You'll know when you're living your life with the purpose that God sent you here to do. So you don't have to put that much pressure upon yourself. You'll know when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I just turned 57 years old, and I just started doing what I was sent back here to do with my life. It took me many years until my full purpose was revealed to me. So it will be revealed to you when the time is right. And I just want to say one last thing, is that I know that some people, if you're not spiritual, you may find like everything that I just said, my extraordinary near-death experience, having died and met God in heaven and being sent back, as his messenger and light worker, and all of my extraordinary afterlife communication from my beloved twin flame Todd and my mom. So anyone who is a little skeptical, I am such a private person that this is also why it took me so long to come forward with my extraordinary true story, because I'm so private that I was never even on social media, and I'm still not on social media. I'm not on Facebook, Instagram, not on Twitter or LinkedIn or TikTok, or any of those social media platforms. So, but I just have my author website at elissahope.com and my YouTube channel at Elissa Hope 4524. That's it, because I'm still a very private person, but I knew that I had to do what I was sent back here to do to serve my purpose for God, so that when my time's up here again, that I can go back home to merge back as one soul with Todd in heaven, where we will be one with God for all of eternity. Because I say, this is it for me. I am not coming back here again. I don't think I will have any reason to, because I'm serving my whole purpose now for God. And I hope that, I'm making him proud of me. And I just want to tell you to every single day, choose kindness and do acts of good and pray, 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 because God does hear each and every single one of your prayers. And he will answer you. It may not come right away, but it will come to you. And when one door closes, another one opens. And if something doesn't work out, it's just meant for you that something else better is on the horizon. So just have patience and be humble and kind, and God bless you all. Thank you.